So let's talk briefly about psionics throughout the different editions of D&D and how they've just kind of over time have found their way kind of just trickling out of the system. First edition psionics were added into the AD&D Player's Handbook as the very first appendix. It was an optional thing. And the psionic powers could only be used against other psionic characters or creatures, except for one attack mode, the psionic blast. Determining whether, if these were rules that you wanted to use, again, they were 100% optional, but if you wanted to use them, it was, again, a process to figure out whether things were going to work or not. So to determine if your character had psionic ability, one or more of your intelligence, wisdom, or charisma scores had to be 16 or higher. I'm actually referencing the rules right here in front of me because I don't remember this. And again, I didn't write a script, so I have the book right in front of me, so I will be looking down to check to make sure I'm spouting the right numbers at you. So whether or not this was an ability you had, you needed to make a percentile dice roll, and you would have psionic abilities if you rolled a 100% double zeros. However, you could modify that roll in certain ways. I'm not going to get into the details because they talk about half points and stuff like that or whatever. But you could increase slightly your chances of being psionic or not through certain modifications. Once you said, yes, okay, I have psionic abilities, yay. Now you need to figure out how many psionic points your character has. And there's a whole convoluted way of figuring that out. The psionically endowed character rolls percentile die, adding 1 point to the total for each unmodified point of intelligence, wisdom, and charisma score above 12. In addition, if 2 of these scores are above 16, the number of points is doubled. If all 3 scores are above 16, the number of points is quadrupled. And then they give examples for how. So the more of the intelligence, wisdom, and charisma are, if they're higher, you wind up getting more psionic points, and then you determine your total number of psionic points and then split them in half equally, once for strength and the other for defense. And then you would then choose. Do you choose or you can just use them? That's the other thing. Psionic powers, blah, 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 blah. Okay, you would determine from a random table what attack and defense modes were available to you. Psionic Blast is the only attack mode that would work against non-psionic creatures or characters. Everything else, you could only use these powers against other psionic creatures. As far as defense modes go, you always had to take defense mode F, which was Mind Blank, and then roll on a table to decide which other ones you get. Once you have all those figured out, then you have to roll the percent die again to find out how many minor and major disciplines you have available to you. And once you figure out what those numbers are, then you roll on the disciplines table to find out which minor and major disciplines you actually have. And then those are like the actual spell-like abilities, and their descriptions are set up in here as spells. It's crazy, and it was kind of a pain in the butt, and I really don't know anybody that used these rules at all. Yeah, it's just weird. Anybody could have them, and and again, like I said, I don't know anybody that used these rules. I never used them, which is why I'm consulting the book, because I'm very unfamiliar with them. I just know that they were very different, and they were unused because people had a hard time understanding it. Later on, though, in 3rd edition, they did release an actual psionics handbook. This was a lot easier to understand. If you wanted to do psionics in your game, 3rd edition was a good way to get into it, because it just straight up added 2 new basic classes and 4 new prestige classes that you could just make a level 1 psionic character, either a scion or a psychic warrior, and just like any other 3rd edition character. Those were just 2 new options that you had, and then of course you had 4 prestige classes to choose from if that's something you wanted to do. The book also has stat blocks for psionic creatures, and then descriptions, of course, of all the the powers and spells and how they work. It was a lot easier. It, it was a lot easier to get into psionics in third edition because you just had this whole book right here and it just slotted nicely into what you already had. As far as fifth edition goes, there was hints and crackles of psionic abilities through, the Unearthed Arcana articles and monster descriptions and things, but nothing straight out for player characters to use until the Tasha's Cauldron of Everything book came out. And then we were given 3 subclasses for Fighter, Rogue, and Sorcerer. And that's about it. You got subclasses just to apply. And I don't know anybody that, again, I didn't use those. I don't know anybody that did. I don't know if they were any good or not. So if you have any experience at all with these 5th edition subclasses for psionics, let me know in the comments. But it just seems like over time, the creators of the game have just slowly been doing away with the psionics aspect of the game, which, good or bad, I don't know. I mean, again, like, I never had any experience myself with the psionics. I never used it. None of my players were ever interested in it, and I think that's probably why over time this aspect of the game has just slowly kind of been dwindling and becoming less and less of a thing. It's just not for everyone, but yeah, it's fine. It's whatever, So what do you think? Have you ever played using any of the psionic rules in any of the editions? If so, how did it work out? How'd you like it? Let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, it's one of the, I think, weirder aspects of D&D. Just one of those options that exists, and some people wonder why. And other people are like, yeah, let me have it. So yeah, let me know. And as always, have a great day, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.